Hi, Joe. Thanks for jumping on. We're going to get going at about 3 past the hour, just so you know.
Oh, I was muted. Good to see you.
Very good to see you too.
You're on twice.
Yes, I am, but that is to do with so I can see my own chat. So you'll just have to bear with 2 of me on the call.
We can handle stereo, Caitlin. That's great.
Very good. You can hear me okay, though, correct?
Yeah, you're coming through fine. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Danny. Danny's one of my students, Caitlin.
Hi, Danny. How are you doing? So here we go. Perfect. So guys, thank you for joining. We're just going to wait a minute or two just to allow everyone to jump into the call. We just hit the hour now, so we'll give it about 3 minutes. So just, it's always good to know we had a great spread of people at our last webinar. We had some people from the Netherlands and as far as Brazil. So drop in the chat where you're coming from. It's always great to see where we're actually bringing in these people from to these calls. I'm in Cork, by the way, if no one actually realizes that. I'm Australian. I catch people off guard with that all the time, but I'm actually in Cork, Ireland. I met my husband over in Australia and we moved out here about 12 years ago. So I practically am Irish at this point. Hot and sticky Dublin. Yeah, it seems to be sticky over the whole of the country at the moment, but I'll take it. I'll take the hot and sticky. Windermere, very good. Hi, Lake, how you doing? Brilliant. So a couple more minutes and we will get going. Switzerland, very good. Perfect. Nice little spread across Europe. It's always good to see. Perfect. And I guess while we're waiting as well, just to give it some thought, guys, obviously we're all here to learn about how we can build better autopilot systems for our admin. So think about what is that one admin task that's taking up more time in your business right now that you would love to automate. Pop it in the chat as well. I'd love to capture that just to see what I should be building next to help you guys out. Perfect. So I think we'll get going. If you were joining here, you have probably come across myself on some piece of content, either on LinkedIn or online, or maybe you might know me personally as well. But if you don't know much about me, I guess a brief introduction of who I am. My name is Caitlin O'Shea, and I have around 15 years of operations and project management experience, which has brought me into the world of AI. How do you say that? Well, I guess from the perspective of being someone that always wants to make our processes and our systems more efficient, it kind of led me into figuring out how I could build different systems in the jobs that I was working in the past sort of 4.5 years as an operations director in a startup, and then also leading AI implementation projects at Dropbox all the way into large enterprise. So I've kind of seen it all at this point. I understand what the pain points are from a small and micro-sized business owner, just like myself. But then I've also seen the adoption kind of problems that you can see when it comes to large enterprise. And that's really what brought me into AI itself. It was, how can I build better systems for business owners that is going to deliver not only impact in their business, but allow them to focus on what they actually want to in their business. So not only be stuck working in the business, but allow you to get back and work on your business, which so many of us as small business owners never really get the opportunity to do because we've got so much regulation to keep up with. We've got so many admin tasks and we're wearing so many hats in the business. So it is very difficult. But as we are now in this very fast moving AI world, there are so many different systems that we can start building. And I want to help as many small business owners with that as possible. And that's the reason why I'm running this webinar today. So today you're going to see 3 systems that have really changed things for me. And it's also going to give you a look in as to the foundations that you as a business owner can start building so that you can start having these sorts of systems enable you to get time back to work on whatever part of the business that you want to, or maybe even personal time, whatever it is. It's to allow you to get more time back to do with it what you want to do. So we will jump in to our first system. We've got an hour to get through this, and I hope to be able to give some time at the end for questions. So if you have questions, please do hold them till the end, and I will have time to answer as many of them as possible. So 3 core foundations. So the 3 core foundations of any good working AI system are context, connections, and scheduling. So where many people are still at these days is they are stuck in the using ChatGPT or Claude as a glorified Google search. And what that means is you're asking it a question, you're getting an answer. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good, but it's hit and miss. And that's an issue, because if you're ever going to bring in AI into your business systems, you need it to be reliable and you need it to be in line with your business and how you do things. So that's where context really comes in. If you have not given context to an AI system, it's always going to be hit and miss. And that is one of those core foundations that needs to be built in order for you to be ever able to scale systems with AI. So it sounds possibly complicated, but it really isn't. And all it is enabling the AI to understand via files that you put together in text files. So they'd be what they call markdown, which is essentially those very basic text files that you might remember back in, I don't know, the mid-90s when computers first came about. That was the kind of window that opened all the time and you'd just be typing into it. That's what an AI reads. And you can create those in a very simple way where you are able to have the AI interview you on different parts of your business and then create these foundational documents. So I'll go into a little bit more about that as we go through the systems. Then you have connections. So the way I like to explain a connector is very much so like a universal power plug. So a universal power plug in the way that you have your AI model. It could be Grok, it could be ChatGPT, it could be Claude, any of them. And they have what's called an MCP connector. So that universal power plug enables you to connect your AI to your tools. So it could be your CRM, it could be your calendar, it could be your daily notes that you make in your phone through Apple Notes or your Notion. And that enables the AI to be able to sometimes just read through that connector so it can see what you're doing in those tools. But then in some connectors, it'll actually allow you to read and write. So that means that the AI can perform a task for you and write those details into the tools that you have created that connection with. So that's where it's really taking that leap from copying and pasting to performing actions as per the instructions that you've given it. And it really makes a huge difference, especially when it comes to AI systems in business. And then lastly, it's scheduling. So this is where you take another leap forward, and it's where you've got your context, so it knows what it needs to do. It's in line with your business. Via the connection to whatever tool it is, it can perform the task. And then lastly, the schedule allows it to actually perform that task without you being there at all. So once you've figured out those first 2 pieces, you're able to set up a scheduled task to be completed on your behalf without you being at your laptop. And when you have those running in a way that you are happy enough with the outputs, you really begin to build this trust with your scheduled tasks so that you no longer have to be at your laptop. I know a lot of, if you have got to this point where you've scheduled tasks, you'll be sitting there watching it actually process and you're like, oh, look what it's doing. And, you know, you might waste 5 minutes just staring at what it's doing. But once you get that trust, you've got these things running on the back end. And instead of sitting there watching what the AI is doing, you're off doing something else. So you've actually gained all that time back. So that's where the magic really starts to happen. So the first agent for me that really opened things up was my personal assistant. So why I built the personal assistant is because, as I said, I'm a solo business owner. I wear many different hats. I'm the marketer, I'm the salesperson, I'm the ops person. I'm doing all of it. And obviously that is a huge amount to keep in one brain. And I know that a lot of you on this call are in the exact same position. And building a solution that enabled me not only to manage my business, but also my personal tasks. Now, I am very much so a heavy user of AI, as I'm sure you could imagine. So I do have a paid subscription, and I'm happy with the privacy side of things. So I share it, even my personal tasks. So my personal assistant not only manages my business tasks and everything that I'm managing there, but it also understands when I need to re-register my car. It also knows when my NCT, so where they check the safety of the car, is coming up. All those little things that we as people have to keep track of, but when you're a business owner, it's just so hard. And I could never afford to hire a personal assistant full time. So that's the reason why I built this system. And this system essentially does what a human personal assistant would do for me without having to have paid for that personal assistant. It only costs me my Claude subscription. So the way that it works is it actually has instructions. So those instructions you can kind of think of as a standard operating procedure that the personal assistant follows every single time it fires and does its tasks for me. I check in with it every single morning, and every single morning it starts by following those instructions. And then it has a number of skills as well, which I've created, which are practically even more detailed instruction manuals that an AI can follow very carefully and in a way that it won't make mistakes. In the past, you might have used AI and told it to follow a particular prompt, but then halfway through, it would go off and it would, start doing something else rather than what you'd initially told it. Whereas skills is where that has taken another leap forward in the technology. Now, it's not complicated at all. But once they are set in a process, it allows you to create these very reliable systems. So along with that, it also has your foundational documentation. So this is the context that I was speaking about. So it understands your tone of voice, how you like to communicate. It understands the business's quarterly goals. So you've told it this quarter, this is what we're focusing on. And that has access, the personal assistant has access to that quarterly goals document, and it pulls it in every single time it's creating and mapping your tasks for you. It also understands your business's core values, your brand's DNA, how you like to present your content, what should it look like. So it's pulling in all that information every single time it actually performs these tasks for you, along with, as you'll see here, what it works from. So it has access to your calendar via that connector that I was speaking about. So your Google Calendar, that personal assistant is connected up to that Google Calendar. It's also connected to your emails. So it can see your emails going in and out. So it understands your what leads you're working with, your client projects, so the people that you're actually conversing with on particular jobs, and it's tracking all that information. So you've got that all connected up within this personal assistant's brain. And so for me, because I was not only finding it very hard to keep track of all that information, I also was finding myself in analysis paralysis. I'd sit down at my desk every day and I'm like, what do I need to be working on today? Have I missed something? And that's what this personal assistant really solves for me. I come in, I sit down, it's connected to all this information so that every single day it will then go in and plan my top 3 priorities for the day scheduled in my calendar. And because it has access to my calendar, it's not going to book over the client calls that I already have in there and that sort of thing. It understands what I have coming up in the day. So it's going to really act as what a human PA would do. So that is the system. But before I go on any further, I'm actually going to jump into the demo. So you can see this actually running in my business right now. So 2 seconds, I'm just going to pull that up there. Okay, perfect. So what you can see here is me performing a Friday check-in with Claude Cowork. So first up, I'm going to make sure that I've given it access to the correct folder. And then I've made sure to also give it Opus 4.8. We're now on Opus 5. And that's the model, the brain that it's running when it's actually performing these tasks. So it's pulling in everything that it needs. So you can see anything that it pulls into those lists on the side there on the right, it's actually mapping that out so it can see what folders it is actually working from. Then it's loading the tools that it actually needs as well. And it knows what tools it needs to load because they're included in the instructions. So I know a lot of things are kind of happening there on the screen and it might look a little bit complicated, but I assure you it's following its instructions. It knows what it needs to pull in. It understands what it needs to do because we've already told it that. We've already connected it to what it needs to be connected to, and it has access to your foundational information that it needs to be able to perform these tasks. So now we are at the point where it is, okay, so it's gone into my calendar, you can see there. And it's also gone into the Apple Notes. So I have it connected to my Apple Notes where I have my bullets that I record throughout the day. Any ideas that come up, I jot it down in my Apple Notes. So it's going in there and it's capturing that information as that's me making notes as to things that are coming up in the business. Okay. And now it is performing its QA. So that's the quality assurance. So I have a quality assurance task that's just double checking anything that it does at all times to make sure that it's not going to make something up. As we know, AI can do that sometimes. Okay. Then we've got, so the capture sweep has given us 3 new lines. So you can see there, it's got 1 business and 2 personal. So you might have a laugh reading about what I was noting to myself, but I've got the webinar spreadsheet needs to be sent out on Friday. And then I've got put the bins out. So I just want a reminder to put the bins out. And then also an electricity diverter. So what you can see here down below is me dictating. So I am just giving the answer to each of those, saying, okay, so let's put those invitations out on Friday. For the bins, it would be great if you just put a reminder into my calendar. And the electricity diverter, that can be scheduled for Monday or Tuesday. So I'm really speaking to the PA just like I would a human. There's no, you need to reply to this scheduled kind of formal speak there. It's literally the AI is communicating with me what's going on, and I'm communicating back what I want it to do. So up here, it's asking me questions about content. So this is content that I've been working on, different tasks that it had within its inventory. And it's asking me, what would I like to do with all these pieces? And I'm giving it answers as to what I would like to do. Would I like to schedule that for a certain point in time? That's going to take me 30 minutes. I'm literally speaking with it like I would a human. But it's essentially reminding me as to what I had on my plate. It's not allowing me to forget what I was working on and what I still have to do, which is the important piece. Okay, so I've given it all the information it needs to understand, and it's going to think through that as to how it needs to plan into my calendar. Okay, so it's going into my calendar. And it's gone into my daily focus calendar. So I have a calendar that is specific to what am I focusing on for the day. And it's looked at the personal inventory. It's updated the inventory with all those answers that I gave. So for instance, I told it to schedule this one, replan that one. I gave it all those answers, and it's just making sure that everything's tracked in the inventory. And now it is going to create the required calendar events so that I know what I need to do and when. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to pause it there for 2 seconds. So we will see soon that it has updated the inventories, as I've said, and it's also mapped out roughly how long it's going to take for me to do all of these tasks. Now, at which point, if you have any reason to believe that it's incorrect, This is where you converse with it back and forwards, just like you would your own PA. Say, no, I actually need about 4 hours for that. And it's going to take that into account, and it's going to plan it into your calendar as per the needs that you have. So I think now next we're going to jump on over to my calendar. So right here, you can see my calendar. Everything in the red is what the AI has gone in and scheduled for me. So on Friday, I've got to send out my invoices, my invites. I've got to finish and lock the script for the webinar. Then on Saturday, I've got to build my slides. On Sunday, I'm still building slides. But as you can see, it's taken that from my head. It's planned it out now. You might say, Caitlin, why are you working on the weekend? But this was my first webinar that I had ever delivered. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of learning in that. And I did need to give it a little bit of a shove to get it all over the line in time. And now what you're seeing here is a dashboard that I completed or created so that everything is pulled together in a central location. So you've got your focus for today. So you can see the webinar is coming up in 6 days. It also, I've got my quarterly target there. I've got my priorities for today. I've got 2 priorities that I've got to work on for today. And I've also got 13 live work items that I'm still tracking. Then you've got your calendar. So this is showing the calendar for the day, where you're at with the day. Now you might see you've got all, these are my schedules for my kind of like ideal lifestyle, I like to call it. And that's my calendar that's kind of like, okay, I've got my breakfast, I've got my walk. I'm very kind of organized in that way. But I like to try and keep to some sort of routine schedule. So it's showing me where I'm at and where my work is actually logged in for the day. And then moving down, you're seeing your emails. So we'll go into the emails a little bit later with the inbox cleaner. But as you can see here, needs a response, Gmail label, action required. So it's really highlighting anything that's important that needs an action. And then lastly, it's going to show you your tasks, which you have. So your roadmap across Q3 into H2, what have you got in that inventory and what needs to be delivered and when? Is it critical? Is it high priority? Is it low? And so on. So that dashboard is really giving you the ability to just see everything in one place, which I kind of love. Okay, perfect. Great. So next up is our proposal builder. And the proposal builder for me was a big lifesaver. And I know anyone that is pricing jobs on the regular will know that proposals are very important. You know, obviously you want to put your best foot forward when you're dealing with a new client. But if you are offering some sort of bespoke services, that can take up a lot of time in your day, which you don't even know is ever going to convert into revenue. But obviously it's very important that it is your best foot forward. And for me, obviously I'm stretched so thin that I thought, how can I create a system that is going to generate my proposals for me without me? And that is essentially what I have done here. So the proposal builder is much like the personal assistant. It is built on instructions. So those instructions tell the proposal builder how to perform its jobs. And it also has skills for, you know, creating a PDF, creating an HTML version. And if it needs to know anything, it's going to ask you questions to ensure that it stays very clear on what is to be incorporated into that proposal. So obviously it's not going to make up pricing. The reason why it's not going to do that is because it also has action. It also has the connection to those foundational documents. Now, these are like the ones that we previously spoke about. It's still the tone of voice. How do we communicate with our customers? But this tone of voice is slightly different because it's probably going to be a little bit more formal. It's your proposal documents here, your offers and your pricing, your services. So you're going to go in and you're going to create these specific to your business so it understands how you as a business operate, what are the services that you provide, how do you price them, all that sort of stuff. I'm just going to have a drink there. And obviously your design DNA, because it's very important. You're going to have a particular framework and format and how you like to put these proposals forward, and it's going to understand your brand from end to end, and it's going to present you documents that are in line with that brand. So how does it all kick off? I guess you're probably wondering. And that is either via, say, for instance, you had a call online and you transcribed that call. You can connect it up so it pulls, and this is what I do within my system, is I have it connected to my Google Drive. It pulls in the transcript for my call with the customer, and it uses that transcript to create the proposal. But you could just as easily have met a client face-to-face and wrote down notes in your notebook, and you could take a photo of those notes in your notebook, and you could upload it and say, build me the proposal from these notes. And I'm sure that maybe those notes probably aren't as detailed as what a transcript is, but it will ask you the questions that it needs to in order to write that proposal for you. And out the other end, once you've clarified the questions, everything is processed, you are going to end up with a finished branded PDF document, but then also an HTML version. So I like to send my clients a live HTML version. What you can do with Claude Cowork and Claude Code now very easily with these systems is you can create interactive proposals for your clients, which are really impressive. They can click things. It's just so much more impressive. And that's what I like to do. And then in the email, I also give them a PDF format one as well, because they generally like to use that to share around. But the HTML version is just something now that we can do that we were never able to do. And you can do that with these systems. So let's jump into the demo for building out a proposal. Okay, perfect. So as you can see here, what I'm asking is I'm just asking the AI to go to the recent call that we had with Northbridge. And I've done / proposal from call. That is this skill which tells the AI to access the transcript that I have in my Google Drive and pull it down, and then build it out using the skill proposal builder. So it knows how to build a proposal on my behalf. So it's thinking about all of that. And next up, you're going to see it call in the instructions and the tools and the connectors, just like the personal assistant did on that sidebar. And it's going to do everything that it needs to do. So it really just works through piece by piece, ensuring that it's following every step that it needs to. I don't think I spoke about this in the last bit. You can see here there's the progress. So it's actually the AI has created a plan essentially for itself. And then as it goes through the tasks, you'll see it actually cross off each of those activities until it gets to the point where it's completed what it needs to. So right here now, you can see that it was searching Google Drive for the Northbridge call. And now I will call out as well that this is a complete demo. This Northbridge call was created to show you guys here and now. It's not a real customer. And it is reading the transcript, and it's going to start producing the proposal. Now, I'm sure it's probably going to ask me a few questions as well. So we do have to let it think. This is a complicated process that it is performing in the back end. It's just not complicated for us. Once we have this running, it really is going to do it without us at all. So here you go. It's asked me what rate should I charge? Is it a standard rate? Is it a discounted partner rate? And it knows this because it's accessing my pricing, and it knows that I charge different rates for different customers. So I'm going to give it the answer that suits. If it was something else, I would just type it in the something else section and hit go, and it would understand what it needs to do there. It would ask more questions. Then it's asking how many sessions per department, per cohort. Is it 6 half days, 4 half days? What additional layers or optional layers are we adding in? I'm going to tell it if there's anything that suits. What's the delivery model? And I go about just answering those questions until it has everything that it needs. Now, if you have more standard pricing for your offers, it's going to have to ask much less questions. This was a program that ran over 6 months, so it's quite an in-depth program that it is based off here. And it's a little bit bespoke as well. So then it's asking me what rates I should be charging. So you're going to give it the answer that it needs. And before it does anything else, I think that is the last question that it asks before it actually gets building the proposal. Okay, now this goes through a lot of thinking, and I recorded this demo because I want you to see how it actually goes through this process. But I do think it's quite boring if I was to ask you to sit here for 4 minutes just watching all the different actions that the AI is taking. So I am going to fast forward a little bit, but I will show you that there's no magic here or anything. You can still see it's rendering the PDF. It's performing all the steps that it needs to in order to create it as per the instructions. And then, it literally just keeps thinking and thinking and doing all the tasks that it needs. And so it's at the point of building the proposal now. And what I'm finding is this is taking around 20 minutes to generate. So, and the beautiful thing is the point now that because I trust this system, once I know that I've given it everything that it needs, it is able to build without me being there at all. I'm going off and I'm doing something else, and it's just getting the work done, which is absolutely beautiful, and something to be celebrated once you've got these systems running in your business. It really puts a big smile on your face. And now it's working on the HTML. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to see that it has produced 3 documents. One of those is just a markdown format of what it has completed. But you'll see here you've got the HTML version and you've got the PDF version. So we'll open up the PDF version. As you can see here, this is a beautifully brand aligned proposal that follows my format perfectly. It includes all the pieces around my services, how the program is going to be delivered. And this can be completely customized to your own services. You just need to give it that information so it can call upon it. Then we've got the pricing. It's mapping out the table, how we run the program timeline, how does the investment work. All of these things can be completely customized within your instructions. Then we move on to the really groovy HTML version. So I absolutely love this. And I feel like it really stops your clients in their tracks. They go, wow, this is definitely not something that we're used to seeing. And it is following that same framework, but it's just a little bit more jazzy, because when you can code it using HTML, which the AI has done all on its own, things are just a little bit more impressive than on a PDF document. But you're producing both of these with ease without you being there at your computer, which is the beauty of all of this. So yeah, it really is and has been an amazing 6 months in AI, really, as to how far we've come from last year to what we're able to do now, moving into this agentic layer of AI where an AI can perform tasks on your behalf. Okay, how are we going for time? I would open it up just before I move into the next process. Was there any questions from anyone at all? Anyone wanted to ask any questions on how those processes are running? Come off mute. More than happy for you to ask out loud or pop it in the chat, whatever you're more comfortable with.
How easy is it to update these processes as things change, Caitlin? You must get, I don't know, a new pricing model, or you must kind of, decide you're going to do a different thing or whatever. How easy is it to then change that in these models?
Of course. So the beauty of the way of setting up a good foundational documents framework, or folders, you could say, is that you are essentially creating text files, and these text files are held within a folder on your local drive or in a Google Drive, whatever works best for you. But yes, there is maintenance involved. And if you are making changes to your pricing or your strategy, or for instance, with your personal assistant, it understands your quarterly goals. So they're going to be changing every quarter. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to run that discovery. So the way that all these foundational documents are set up is in an interview format. So I mentioned that earlier, that you would say, okay, I need to build out, for instance, my quarterly goals, and the AI is going to ask you all the questions it needs to understand in regards to your quarterly goals, and then it's going to create that into that context document. So what I do on a routine basis, I generally do it sort of every 6 to 8 weeks. I tend to sit down with my whole co-work, and I am able to run a skill that I have that runs through all of my context documents to ensure that they are up to date, and it will then go in and perform those tasks on my behalf, editing those context files so that they are able to perform in the way that they're supposed to. So it's much easier than you would think, but it is definitely something that needs to be maintained. However, when you have these systems running in your business, you're more than happy to sit down for, you know, an hour every 6 weeks and make sure that everything is staying in line. I hope that answers.
You're just having a chat with the AI every few weeks rather than having to go in and manually edit things here.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's how we create these context files as well from the get-go. It is just a conversation with the AI. You're chatting with the AI, you're building out these foundational documents, and then the systems are going to call on them as necessary.
Cool. Thanks.
No worries. Any questions for anyone else before we move on? Perfect. Okay, so the inbox cleaner. So this is last but not least. It definitely still does a lot for my head. And I don't know about you, but you know, you hear of these people that are able to keep their inboxes down to 0 emails. I'm definitely not that person, and I very much so struggle to keep up with my emails. And when you're running a business, that can mean that you miss leads coming in, you might miss opportunities, you might miss communications to your clients, and that's the sort of thing that you really don't want to happen. It can have a very drastic impact on your business. So having an inbox cleaner system set up enables you to not only ensure that you catch everything that comes through, but you no longer have to go into your inbox and see this waterfall of newsletters that you subscribe to that you're never going to read, alongside the, you know, just million advertising kind of emails that we receive for products that we might have bought. You know, you guys understand what it is to go into a messy inbox. So what this inbox cleaner actually does is it runs on a schedule, and that schedule can be specific to your needs. I have mine run on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday, but you could have it just as easily run twice a day if that's what you want, but it's just obviously going to consume more tokens every single time you have it run, but that's completely up to you. 3 times a week is good enough for me. And what it actually does is it goes into my Google, my Gmail, it looks at all of my emails, it triages them into categories of importance, it labels them into categories that I have previously set up in my Gmail. And then once it's sorted through all of those, so once it's filed them away, it then sends me a report to tell me what exactly it has done. Now, it doesn't send emails on my behalf. It doesn't write emails on my behalf. This is essentially an inbox cleaner. The title is what it is. It goes through and it organizes. And for me, that means that like I am just less overwhelmed. I go into my inbox, and just like the personal assistant helps with, the inbox cleaner helps me to understand exactly what I need to do, and I just am able to take action rather than wasting time thinking about what I need to do and when, and have I missed anything even worse. So the inbox cleaner calls upon foundational documentation and instructions, just like all the other systems. You'll see quite a trend here appearing here, and that is the beauty of learning how to build these systems as well, is that once you learn to build one, you can start to build so many others, because it really is a repetitive kind of way of building out these AI systems. So it's got instructions that it understands how to perform the triaging. It understands what matters to you, what's most important, what can wait. So those newsletters, you like them to go into your content and marketing under newsletters label, it'll do that for you. And what can just get straight away filed away, you know, for instance, your invoices, you want to just have them go into your tax operations side of things, it will just send those over there straight away as soon as it sees them. And it's just watching everything that lands in your email. If, for instance, a lead gets onto you and it needs to be replied to, it's going to label that needs attention. You know, this is essentially what it's doing. It's triaging your emails. It's filing your emails as per your instructions. So this is a quick one, but you can see this running on my email as well. And it keeps freezing at 7 seconds. So I apologize if I have to just skip forward there a second. But as you'll see, this is my inbox, and it currently has 24 emails in it. And it's mixed up. It's got lots of emails in there. And then it is going to sort through. I apologize for this. Then, okay, we're going. So then it is going to sort through those emails and make it all look beautiful. So overnight, this was the day before, and then overnight, this runs at 8 a.m., as I said, on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I now have 3 emails there, 3 unread emails. And as you can see, you've got labels that are connected to each of the emails: action required, awaiting reply, and so on. Anything I star, it doesn't touch just by default. That's me starring things, which is fine. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see your labels. So you've got your important ones that require action, review later, etc. Then you've got your business-specific labels. Now, you can create these in whatever format suits you and your business. For me, I've got my content and marketing, and I've got all of my newsletters and my podcasts that I follow and so on. And it understands where to actually send those to for me. Any events and webinars, you know, as I said, you can customize these to whatever you prefer. I've got my top 5 newsletters that I also use to help me create content ideas. Learning and community. You've got your operations, partnerships, personal. So that's just stuff that's unrelated to the business that has somehow come into my business email. As you can see, it really is just a really smart filing system for your emails, but it does it without you. And that's the beauty of it again. So that is the gorgeous little inbox cleaner. Now we're going to jump over to Claude. So you're looking at Claude here now, and this is where it's run in the back end, and they're the steps that it took. And on the right hand side, you see the runs that it has actually run. So when it is fired on its schedule. So, you know, you've got like an audit trail here of what has been done. And then I'll go back and you'll see the report. So upon running, it creates that cleanup report. So you get a little email: hi, Caitlin, your inbox went from 59 threads down to 16. And it's going to tell you what's waiting on you, what needs your attention, what's waiting on others, and what got filed away and where. So that's a really good thing to be able to refer back to, just in case something was to go awry and you weren't sure of where it went. But as I said, it will not delete anything. It doesn't have permission to do that. It won't write anything on your behalf. It will draft up this report, but that's as far as things go. Perfect. Okay, so admin on autopilot, that is what we've essentially been talking about here this whole time. It's where we are able to create systems for our business that is going to allow us, as I said, to work on our business and no longer in our business. And you're probably thinking, well, that was great, Caitlin. Thank you so much for showing me all that. It's all very interesting, but it looks a bit too complicated for me to build myself. And that is the reason why I am running admin on autopilot. So admin on autopilot is going to be a boot camp running in both September and October. And it's going to be not only the opportunity for you to be able to build these systems that I've shown you here and now specific to your business, but it's also, as I said, it's going to be that real opportunity for you to start to learn how to create these foundational AI systems in your business. Once you learn those tricks of the trade, you are then able to replicate them in other ways that might be pain point specific to your business. But if you join the admin on autopilot bootcamp, you're going to create your own customized proposal builder. You're going to have that email agent that's going to go in and clean your inbox. You're also going to have your own personal assistant that's going to help you plan your priorities each day. And in addition to that, you're also going to get the practice in creating that core foundational system that you need within your business to be able to use AI systems in a repetitive and reliable way. And as a bonus as well, I'm also going to throw in an invoice creator framework. So you can go from proposal all the way through to invoice, just like you saw in the proposal generator. It's literally going to do the same thing, but it's going to be creating that invoice in a lovely format with you not having to be involved. So what you actually need in order to take part in the bootcamp, if you decide this is something that you would like to delve into, is you will need a Gmail account and calendar, and you will have to have a Claude Pro or higher. So essentially it is a paid plan with Claude, so that €20 a month, to take part in the bootcamp. Otherwise, you won't have access to the features that we'll be using, which are the connectors and scheduling and so on. Plus, I will make the point that if you are still using a free version of AI, that you really need to realize that if you are not paying for tools, your data is the payment. So anything you are sharing with it, they are then using to train the models. You need to pay in order to protect your data. So please do that if you are using AI tools now and sharing with it confidential and personal information. Just for attending the webinar today, though, I am going to share with you post the webinar with the recording of today's webinar and a 7-day Claude Foundations build. So each day you're going to sit down with Claude 10 to 20 minutes each time, and you're going to build out some Claude foundational documents, or some foundational documents. They're not specific to Claude, so you could use those documents in ChatGPT or Grok in your folder, like I said. And you're going to build those out so that you're going to start to have the context that you need in order to start getting good results from AI. So that's yours today, free, no matter what. I also make the point that, yes, it might seem like there is a lot going on in these processes, but I can assure you, I am a non-technical person. If you can write an email and you're okay with following instructions, you can build these systems. And if you take part in this bootcamp, you're going to have me holding your hand along the way. So I'm going to be giving email support within the bootcamp. So if you get stuck on anything, you can reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help. But as I say, this is built for non-technical people. I'm not a technical person, and I'm not actually looking to have technical people on these calls, because I'm sure it would probably complicate it more than I'd be comfortable with. So I will be breaking it down in a way that as a non-technical person, you'll be able to build these systems. I promise you that. So it is going to be €89 per seat, and I'm going to be limiting that to 50 seats. And as I said, we're running it in both September and October. So it's 3 90-minute sessions running at 11 a.m. each morning. Now, if that time doesn't work for you, each of those calls is going to be recorded, and you will have access to those recordings forevermore. You're also going to get a build manual that you can follow if you are not actually on the calls. And as I said, email support is included throughout the bootcamp. And then in addition as well, the founding cohorts for this, like, it's going to be 50 people max. So that means I'm going to be able to support everyone that little bit more. So this will be the last time that it is €89. It definitely will be going up in the future, and I probably will be doing it to much larger audiences as well. So I am very much so saying, jump on this first cohort. I'm going to look after you from start to finish. And if you do come along to the bootcamp and you feel like it's not for you, just email me. I don't want people to be coming along to this and feeling like it's not for them, or it's too hard, or for whatever reason they've decided it's just really not the go for them. Get in touch with me. I will give you a refund. I want people to be in this, getting the most from this. I'm about customer success, and I want people that I am working with, helping here, to be along the road with me and seeing the successes and getting that value just like I am on their own businesses. So please do know that as well. That is my personal guarantee. And also, for now, I am giving 25% off. So it's actually bringing it down to a ridiculous price of $66.75 to take part in this bootcamp. I believe there is a huge amount of value here. It is not only these systems, but it is also, as I said, the knowledge that you need to learn in order to start building these systems for yourself. So if you are very interested, I would say jump on in, put the promo code admin25 and you will get 25% off. And that is active until this Saturday at midnight. So I hope to see any of you at this bootcamp, but definitely any questions, I'll open up to the floor because I know we've got a bit of time left on the call. Was there any further questions at all from anyone? Anything needs clarification? Danius.
Caitlin, I want to ask you, have you tried, because you're saying there that with the Gmail accounts and all that, have you tried those systems with the Outlook or any other email inboxes? Like would that work or would this be a problem?
So yes, you can essentially do this with Microsoft Outlook. It is possible. However, it is a bit more clunky and there are certain elements that just aren't as streamlined as yet. So I would advise if you don't have a Gmail account, if you're not willing to switch over to a Gmail account, then it's not really suitable to take part in the bootcamp. You will be able to use the proposal generator and the invoice framework, but the personal assistant will be missing that kind of overview of your calendar and the ability to schedule tasks without Gmail calendar. So I would love to have offered it as part of this, but unfortunately Microsoft are just a little bit behind. I'm sure maybe in 6 months that might be a different story, but right now it's Google Workspace that really supports these systems the best.
Okay.
No problem. Any other questions from anyone else? No? Okay, well, I want to say thank you all so much for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I will give you all back a few minutes in your day, but I will be sending out the recording and also that 7-day build guide to your email. So make sure that you look out for that. And yeah, thank you all very much for being here. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.